Hi guys, so I'm going to show you a perfect example of heartless Tories. Now, I don't know if Alistair Stewart, who's presenting this show, is a Tory, but he talks like a Tory and he acts like a Tory, so I assume he is a Tory as well. He's going to interview a Tory MP about his concerns regarding extending the free school meals scheme. So let's hear what both of them have to say.
Joined now by Robert Halfon, who is the Conservative chair of the Education Select Committee and MP for Harlow, North London neck of the woods. Robert, at a time of national crisis, should a Prime Minister not be able to rely on the total undivided loyalty of all of his MPs?
Why should he have undivided loyalty? If the Prime Minister is doing something stupid, then he should be called out for that.
I regard myself as a loyal Conservative. I do support the Prime Minister. I very rarely vote or abstain against government motions.
Okay, so what I want to just stop here for a moment. This is very important to remember. When members of Parliament vote always in line with the party, it's not always because they agree with what the party is doing. It's because they want to show to the party that they are loyal. So later on, when there's an opportunity to become, for example, a minister or even the Prime Minister itself, you can show the party, look at my track record. I have been loyal. Doesn't matter whether, they personally agree with things or not. It's about showing that they're a yes man or a yes woman. Showing to the party, look at me, I've always voted with the party. Or I've almost always voted with the party.
Gone through the lobbies supporting some very difficult motions because I do believe that it is my duty to be a team player. But there are occasions where issues are very important that you feel that you have to either abstain from a vote or vote with the against the government, and it's not something.
He's trying to present this as some sort of, in my heart, I feel that I have to vote for something, or I have to vote against it, or I have to abstain. This is a pile of crap. What they do is they look at their constituencies and they say, okay, can I get away with voting for this or voting against it? Then they look at the party and say, can I get away with voting for this or voting against it? It's all a balance. It's not about whether this is the right thing to do. Now, there are very few politicians. There are a few politicians who actually have a backbone, who actually have a soul, who care about what happens on the grand scale of things. But many politicians are just cynically balancing whether I should agree with the party or whether I should agree with my constituency, and how is this going to help my career.
Something I enjoy doing, but in terms of, you're obviously referring to the food debate today, yeah. It is likely that I will vote for the Labour motion or abstain, depending on what the government say.
That's on the school meals?
On the school meals, yes.
But there's also Lisa Nandy's Fair One Nation deal, basically saying that if you have to be shut down, whether you be in Liverpool, Manchester or Harlow, London, then it should still be the furlough rules. You're not going to support that, I assume.
Well, that motion is predominantly about Tier 3. Yeah. I actually think that the government has done although I disagree with them on the combating child food hunger issue, I do think that they have poured hundreds of billions of pounds into supporting areas. My own area of Harlow has had over 130 million. The government are working on Tier 2 help, as is reported in the newspapers today. And
okay, so you're probably asking yourself, why is he going to vote against, or maybe abstain against the government when it comes to free school meals, but he's going to vote with the government when it comes to, for example, the furlough scheme or protecting people's jobs, protecting people's livelihoods? Why is he doing that? Well, because you can see on the screen, Education Select Committee chairman. So he's part of the Education Select Committee. So he's responsible for schools. He's responsible for children in schools. So he's he's balancing out the, okay, well, I can't be seen as throwing children under a bus because I'm part of the Education Select Committee. You know, if I do this, what's going to happen to me? I'm going to receive calls. I'm going to have people banging on my door saying, why the hell are you throwing children under a bus? So he's in his mind, he can't say, look, I'll go along with Boris Johnson on that, because it would harm me personally on my, you know, in my constituency. People would be angry with me. They'd be justifiably angry with me. But on the other side, I can vote with the government because most of the government, most of the party is on the side of the government. So there's no cost, there's no benefit for me actually voting against the government. While there's a real cost for me voting with the government when it comes to the free school meals.
I actually believe that they should be supported, and I think they're trying to do the right thing given the constraints on the economy and the constraints on taxpayer funding.
Your school meal issue, Marcus Rashford is the one who got it into all of the headlines, and Labour want it to go all the way through until Easter. You certainly want it to go through half term. Why should all taxpayers pay for all kids to have free school meals? Is there not a degree of parental responsibility there as well?
Of course, there is parental responsibility, but
so it's a parental. This is the Tory response to, oh, they're poor children. Well, it's the parents' fault. So let's punish poor children because of the responsibilities of their parents. That's a fantastic society to create, isn't it? There are children who are suffering. Did the children decide to suffer? Is it their fault that they're suffering? But we don't care about that. We're going to make them suffer because we want to punish the parents in some way. Please tell me, what is the advantage of that? Anyone in the comment section, tell me the advantage of punishing children because of, I don't believe it's the case, but of decisions made by their parents. Because when I say I don't believe it's the case, many people who lose their job aren't losing their job because they're bad at their job. It can be the case they're losing their job because there is an economic crisis, something that's out beyond their control. So why is it, in your eyes, correct to punish the children because their parents lose their job, or because their parents change job and it turns out that wasn't a good career move? The parents are not, for example, even if the parents are not good parents, why should the children be punished for that?
But because of COVID, and we just talked about government decisions, because decisions the government has sadly had to make in terms of lockdowns and restrictions, many people are struggling. Thousands of people have lost their jobs. The Office for Budget Responsibility say unemployment could reach go up by 13%.
Okay, so he's talking about how it's going to negatively impact many people, the pandemic. But he agrees with the government with cutting off the furlough scheme, with actually taking support away. So on one hand, he's saying, yes, we need to look after children, we need to give them free meals. But on the other hand, he's saying we need to cut off financial support to people who are suffering. How can you balance those two concepts?
Meaning that over 360,000 families will face food insecurity. So if these decisions are being made by government, if people are losing their jobs through no fault of their own, it must be the responsibility of government to try and help these families, especially when families are facing child food hunger. And don't forget...
Now, how can you say in the same interview, we need to look after families who are facing food shortages? That's a responsibility of government. But at the same time, we don't need to help people. We don't need to help out people financially. Or what financial support we've given, well, we can't give them any more. And actually, we're going to cut it. We're going to reduce it for reasons.
Get the government spent hundreds of billions on the Eat Out to Help, hundreds of millions, sorry, on the Eat Out to Help scheme only in the summer. The government has a furlough scheme, which is in essence a taxpayer benefit to help people who are in work. This is a program for children temporarily. I'm not arguing that it should be forever, but temporarily.
I'm not arguing it should be forever. So, children, I'm not going to throw you under a bus for now. So, you know, how can you... So do you think that the children are suffering for a period and then after they're okay? So this is mind-blowing. So you have these two Tories who are saying, well, one of them anyway. I don't know what Alistair Stewart thinks about it. Maybe thinks, why the hell are we feeding these poor children for? Throw them under the bus immediately. At least the MP is saying, we're going to throw them under a bus, but let's not do it now. Let's let's extend the period before we throw them under a bus. Because he seems to think that this is a temporary problem. You know, child poverty was not just something that appeared in the last number of months. It's been going on for decades. And thanks to your party and your successive governments, you've increased that problem. So there are more people who are relying on food aid because of your party. And now you're saying that we just want to extend it for this particular crisis. But then after we're going to take it away because, well, we have to go back to normal.
To help during the coronavirus crisis.
One of your biggest issues, though, is the general notion of inequality, and schools are a vital example of that. Why don't you go the whole hog and say this should go on forever and a day like Labour?
Because what I don't think it is the answer for it to go on forever. But what I do think the government should do is sit down with Marcus Rashford and the task force that he set up, which includes a lot of major food companies.
Let's sit down with these people for PR reasons, appear that we're actually caring, we're actually doing something. Take a few photos with Marcus Rashford and then go back to normal. Because that's what the Tories want to do. They see this as, this is bad PR. They don't see this as a bad policy. They don't see this as being uncaring to the poor. They see this as bad PR. Oh, damn it, there's a celebrity, a famous footballer who's putting a bit of heat on the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, go and fix this, give them a quick fix. Okay, we'll extend this over the summer. Hopefully it will go away. It's not that they actually care about poor people. This is very important to remember about the Conservative Party. They don't give a flying F about poor people. It's about PR. Oh, there's some bad PR coming down the road. Let's fix it. Let's not fix the problem. Let's fix the PR problem. So we can get over it and the media will forget about it and then we can go back to normal.
In the UK and work out a genuine long-term plan with a budget to combat food hunger. For example, they could institute a program of holiday activity programs during school holidays so that kids have activity.
Why don't you just set a budget per child? Say we're going to provide every child with, I don't know, £10 per day a food voucher for £10 a day. And make it universal. And then the people who need it can use it, and the people who don't need it don't use it, and the money remains in the budget. You could have a card, I don't know, electronic card. You can even means test it if necessary. I would be against that. Just give everyone a £10 free food voucher. Because that is money that will be respent in the economy. There isn't money going down into a black hole. And we understand from scientific studies that when children are well fed, their levels of intelligence increase, so they're more productive in society. Hungry children are not productive in society, but the Tories don't care about that.
To do, plus get fed at the same time. They could expand the breakfast clubs, fund those across many more disadvantaged schools. We know that if...
Sorry, I'm always interrupting here, but a lot of these things are because it's about giving money to private companies who are donors of the Conservative Party to distribute these services. So once again, it's not about let's look after the poor people. Let's look after our friends who donate to the party, funnel money directly to them. And then they can operate these services, which they don't properly operate.
Kids eat breakfast, it improves their GCSE rate, it improves their education attainment by up to 2 months. They should...
Then, yes, you're agreeing with me. Then why the hell don't you make it free? Extend it to everyone. Have everyone... You could eliminate poverty, child poverty, pretty much. Especially when it comes to food. You could eliminate it in a day. We give whatever people want. Here, I think £10 is sufficient to feed children, to give them a free meal every day. We can argue on the numbers. Maybe £5 is enough. I don't know. Maybe £10 is not enough.
Work with businesses so that businesses provide matched funding for the voucher schemes that the government have to deal with food poverty. But what we need is just a long-term plan.
What are you talking about, businesses? What has this got to do with businesses? We're talking about children who need access to food. You provide them with the money. You give them you give every family a card. I don't know. I don't know how you would work it out. I'm sure you could work it out. It's not rocket science, but you can just. It's a problem of politics. It's not an actual problem of money, because if the government want to spend money on something, they will spend money on it. We have to get away from this ridiculous idea that there is no money for something. If the government, for example, wanted to go to war, they would never say, can we afford this? They would just do it. We need to get away from this ridiculous idea that there isn't money for something. If the government want to spend money on something, they will spend money on it. Look at Brexit, for example. I've yet to hear a Brexiteer say, wait a minute, maybe we're spending too much money on this. Or should we really be spending this amount of money on this project? Or maybe we should cancel Brexit because it's too friggin' expensive. No.
To deal with the hunger, improve attainment, and it will actually be a cost benefit to the government in the long run. And there is money already for this, because the government raised over £300 million through the Coca-Cola sugar tax.
Yeah.
That money is disproportionately unfair on those on lower incomes. So why not redistribute that £300 million to combat child food hunger across the country?
Let's talk a little bit about COVID as well.
In a way, he's correct, but he doesn't seem to want to follow. He's trying to make small adjustments around the edges. Like, let's extend this support for children, but let's not go too far. I really don't understand the reasoning behind this. Extend it indefinitely. I completely agree with the Labour Party here. Shouldn't we eliminate this problem? If we have the ability to eliminate a problem, shouldn't we eliminate the problem? And it can be any problem. If we have the ability to eliminate poverty, homelessness, shouldn't we do that? Shouldn't we say this is our goal? We have the resources available. It's not about building a bridge to the moon or something. This is not so expensive.
In terms of schools, it's widely reported today that cases reported in nearly half of the country's secondary schools.
Okay, I'm going to stop here because they're going to talk about something else here. But just on this issue, the idea that you want to support children for a period and you don't want to support the general population doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe I'm being overly cynical of Robert Halfon, that I believe that he's doing this for his own political career. Once again, I'm a member of the Education Select Committee. If I appear to be throwing children under a bus, at least in the short term, it would damage me politically. But it's okay to throw the general population under a bus by not extending the furlough scheme or not supporting the Labour Party when they want to provide support for everyone who's under lockdown. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. you ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?